Alright, thank you very much. Hello everybody, it's your good friend Pozzible here, and it's time for another episode of our Deep Thoughts, where basically we really analyze a little too much our thoughts on a certain movies. Now, Deep Thoughts are about the curious questions they bring up, the moral implications, and just the, general discussion on what the movie was about in general. That's not so much this Deep Thoughts. This is more about my gripes about a certain movie. And as you know, it's going to be about Maleficent. Spoilers will be ahead, and I finally get to air my grievances that I had about this movie. When it came to Maleficent, like I said, the first problem I had with it was its pacing and its familiarity. It was too by the numbers of the story. You might as well just release the same Sleeping Beauty movie. It would have been almost the same thing, but no, we had to make some changes. Now, I got that they wanted to make Maleficent more of a sympathetic character, told from her point of view type of thing. And I was going to be okay with that. But that just took us too long to get into it, and I didn't connect with the characters at all, like I would normally try to. I really tried to connect with the visual. The first thing I said about this movie is that this movie was pure eye candy, because all you could see, all the great visual effects and her flying, and it was more like me yawning, and that was my first gripe, those wings of hers. She is supposed to be a fairy. Well, what kind of fairy looks like Maleficent? She looks more like a condor or an eagle or something that's gonna just rip you to pieces. She's got the horns, so she already looks evil and everything, but those wings were just way too big, and she was way too big in this movie for me to really get it. When it comes to Maleficent, the character itself just didn't fit her definition. But I try to let it go. I try to understand that, yeah, human beings wanted to come into this forest because it had jewels. And she, and the jewels were just lying around because nobody needs money here. The first thing they did was they were like, you know what? This movie is about how it's really all mankind's fault. And it's important that you understand it's mankind, not humankind, because clearly the women are not responsible for these things. So it's all about the men and how evil they are and how bad they are. But not Maleficent. She was the good fairy. She protected the forest as only men and their soldiers would come and try to take the forest for whatever reason. Obviously, if they would have made it clear that they wanted to pillage their riches, that I could go for. Old-fashioned, but fine, whatever. But no, it's something else about defending their kingdom against her. Not something you can blame them for. See, that's the one thing that this movie really missed out on. You really couldn't blame the men for wanting to be against her, because she is so powerful, if they ever go against her, she'll just destroy them. That's the part that I felt got missed out, is the fact that, they're willing to make her do bad things and give her a sympathetic character, but they weren't willing to do the same thing for the men. Not uncommon for Disney nowadays. Disney has been doing a lot of, it's been very much against man. Frozen was good, but Frozen was a dirty guy and a guy who's a jerk. Brave was okay, but let's face it, except for the father, and even the father had his fault, men were just really bashed on in those movies. We're getting to a point where it's getting sexist, and yet at the same time it's all sexism against men. But it's not all men, let's be honest. There's also the fairies. And the fairies were, just these stupid, goody-goody fairies that you just didn't... I really didn't understand the relationship between Maleficent and these fairies. Now, these were more of the fun, happy-go-lucky, good fairies, whereas Maleficent was more of the powerful fairies that could really take care of herself and really took care of the forest and everything. I get that these guys were supposed to be comic relief, but they didn't have to be so incompetent. And ultimately, they were forgotten about. You have no idea what happened to them during these 16 years, because you just saw Aurora with Maleficent. You didn't see these girls hardly at all. So you're kind of wondering, gosh, doesn't she get worried that she's going to take off? And they didn't seem to care. She always came back, so apparently everything was going to be okay. Also, the thing, and you can't see their wings. They're flying right now. The wings are in the back, just behind them, and they're very clear. Those are fairy wings. These are fairy sizes. I don't know what Maleficent was, but she was no fairy. That much I can promise you. Now, the other part I had was King Stefan, Aurora's father. You had to make him evil. Fine. You made Maleficent evil. But you didn't give him any redemption. You gave her redemption. You know, one thing that I thought about during the final battle, when all these soldiers finally had Maleficent cornered, was you really couldn't blame them. For 16 years, his daughter has been gone. Alright? He has been worried about her, feared for her. Now, did he do something horrible? Yes, he did. Did Maleficent do something horrible? Yes, she did. But she got redemption. He didn't. He went slowly crazy. You know, he just kept going madder and madder and madder. But Maleficent apparently got more and more normal. She was able to be cured. You know, one thing people don't talk about enough when it comes to this movie is that Maleficent really didn't fall for Aurora. And I'm not saying she fell in love with her like, you know, lesbian or anything. I'm saying she cared for her, not of her own choice, but because that was one of the gifts the fairy gave her. Now, Maleficent came in late, so she never heard the that second fairy give the gift of, you know, people will see you and they will adore you. That's why Maleficent adored her, not because she was watching out for her, but because the fairy gave her that gift. Also, the third fairy never gave her a gift. In the original story, it was the third fairy that said she will awaken with true love's kiss. But here it was Maleficent who did it. Now, Maleficent did it as kind of payback to what Stefan did. Got it. I'm good with this so far, right? And, you know, there was the irony of that's why Stefan, Stefan gave Maleficent her first kiss, a true love's kiss. And since there was no such thing, that's why Maleficent wanted to give it. So I was down with that change. I was okay with it. But ultimately, it didn't save the pacing of this movie. I like the actors. That was my other problem. I like this actor. I forget how to pronounce his name. But he was in A-Team. He was in District 9. And he's a great actor. I liked him. And I was hoping that at one point, he would say to Maleficent, you are done torturing me. I'm done being afraid of you. I'm done watching my daughter die because of you, you know? And of course, a lot of people say, but oh, she brought her back. You know, it was Maleficent's kiss. You know, a loving kiss of someone who cares for someone else. Not lesbian or anything. Just a friendly kiss, a loving kiss. That it was Maleficent's kiss that woke her up. Well, he didn't know that at the time. Nobody tweeted it. Nobody put it on Facebook. Nobody told anyone else, hey, the princess is alive. Nobody knew that, you know. So he just had to go and take care of this demon who had been torturing him for years for something he did. But still, he had an enemy. Once we're friends, now we're enemies. And Maleficent didn't do anything to redeem herself in the king's eyes that he knew of at that time, you know. All right. And of course, again, we get back to the idea that, you know, Disney has been giving men a bad rap. Speaking of which, you know, one of the worst parts of this movie, the hardest, most boring part to endure, was the kiss part between the Aurora and the prince. That was the worst. Because you knew it wasn't going to work. You got that. You know? It's like, guys, we saw this in Sleeping Beauty. You know, Snow White and the Huntsman. We knew what was going to happen. We knew the kiss wasn't going to work. So why were you trying to tease us with that? And I get that it was going to happen, but did it have to take so long for it to work? For it to not work? It's like, come on. We know he's going to kiss her. We know it's not going to work. Make it go faster. It took forever for them to get to this point. Okay? So yes. What was one of my problems with Maleficent? Angelina Jolie. That was a big problem with him. Because, you know what? It's not just about women, but it had to be all about her. She had to be the lone hero of this movie. She couldn't share that spotlight with the king. It had to be all about her. The horns got me a little bit too, because the horns seemed to change color. Sometimes I would see them as being brown, sometimes I would see them as being black. Might have been that she was in a shadow or something. It looked sometimes like she was putting a hat on. Why would you want to get a hat for those horns like that? I could never understand that. It made no sense. But that's okay. That's neither here nor there. This comes back to the second problem. The wings, again, were a problem. Okay, because Angelina Jolie, because the wings came back. And that really bothered me, that the wings came back. Because here's the thing. For more than 16 years, it all came down to Aurora's 16th birthday, but I'm sure a few months happened before that, or even a few years happened before that. Those wings came back when somebody, I think it was Aurora, dropped the case, freed the wings, and the wings came back to her. Now, I will admit that it is a possibility that she didn't know that she could get her wings back. Alright? But the fact that they came back after being chopped off for so long, it's like, are you kidding me? That's the stupidest thing ever. You know? And here is the ultimate worst. The saddest thing of them all. The Queen. Who cries for the Queen? But I hope her husband does. She didn't ask for any of this. She didn't do anything to deserve any of this. Is there any justice for the Queen in her life, and her death? For all we know, the Queen, we see her with her baby, and then the baby has to be taken away, and then she gets so sick with worry, so sick because she's depressed about losing her daughter like that all of a sudden, she just dies of worry. And there's no redemption for her. No redemption whatsoever. And I felt so bad for the Queen, and just there was nothing they could ever do for her. And she didn't ask for any of this. She didn't deserve any of this. The other part I have to admit is, when it comes to what they did with Aurora, it was wrong and stupid. Because basically, all she said was, before the sun sets on her 16th birthday, meaning 15 years and 364 days, you didn't have to hide her. You could have kept her with you until she turned 15 and then hid her. And for crying out loud. Now, this part I can forgive. On her 16th birthday, on the day of her 16th birthday, put her to sleep. You notice that Maleficent walks around a lot sometimes with humans, trying not to be seen. And when they do see her, she just puts them to sleep. Just, fairy dust, puts them to sleep. Except for this one guy. Did you notice? This one guy, she's walking by, she's hiding in the background. She whacks him with her stick. It's like, girl, you have been putting everyone to sleep with your fairy dust. Why did you have to whack this guy? Now, of course, he's a soldier. She doesn't like these soldiers, so I'll give her that. But it's like, it's like, gosh, why didn't you whack that guy? Now, with all my gripes about Maleficent, and there are many, as you can tell, here's the shining light. Somebody different. Somebody unique. Somebody who came into this movie and you didn't know what he was about. And he was kind of Maleficent's conscience. And he was a gentleman, and he was just a good servant, like he was supposed to be, because Maleficent saved his life once. And of course, there's the life debt cliche. And he really made it, because there were points where she changed him into different things. That guy is a crow. Now, why he looks like that, I don't know. But she can change him into different kind of animals, and she can make him out to be a horse. She can make him out to be a dragon. And the funny part was, now, I grant you, at the end, she was supposed to be weak from all the iron. It's like her kryptonite, so she's getting weak. If she touches it, it burns her. But being close to it must make her weak and everything, because they dropped her in an iron cage. She was able to use her last of her strength, I guess, to turn him into a dragon. And that becomes the dragon that, remember, in the original story, the prince kills. The prince was useless, but then again, that's what men are, apparently, in Disney's world. So here comes, she changes into a dragon. She gets out of the chain, she's trying to regain her strength, and she couldn't change him from a dragon just back into a crow, just for a second, just to get those chains off of him, you know. And but she was able to free him, and save herself, and save not save the king, because they are immortal. They are mortal enemies, you know. But that ending part really killed me. I think I got one more picture. Yeah, the fact that she got her wing back. I was supposed to talk about it here. The ultimate worst part was when Aurora was given the crown. Probably her mother's crown. You know? You're like, oh, by the way, Aurora, your mom was a pretty nice lady, believe it or not. But they had that ending where it's like, now our kingdoms are united. Why? What does Aurora know of the human world? She doesn't know anything of the human world. She's been with you this whole time. So the kingdoms are hardly united. You know, it didn't really come out as good as you wanted it to be. It didn't connect. I can imagine Aurora being the queen of that fairyland, because that's where she grew up and everything. But can't she really rule the humans? Well, you never know. And that's why, this movie just killed me, you know? I struggled. I really wanted to like it. I was trying hard to find the good parts of it. Even the CGI bullshit got to me at the end. It's like, what the hell? It was just on her 16th birthday. She met this other beast. And it's like, what the hell is this thing even? It doesn't even look like anything we know, and it's ugly. But she treats it nice because she's Aurora, and it just killed me. This movie just killed me. It's one of those painful movies that was really hard to watch and get into and enjoy at the end. Alright guys, well I think I ripped on poor Angelina Jolie. You know, I can't deny, I like the characters. I like the actors. They were not my problem. My problem was the writing. My problem was the directing. The direction they went just didn't connect. So, and I felt bad because I really wanted to like this movie. I felt let down. I felt painful by it. I don't know if you endured me griping about this movie, but I hope I gave you something to think about. And if you have anything that you liked or didn't like about this movie, please leave a comment in the comment section below. Have a good one, guys. We'll see you at the theaters.